Okay, guys, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Now, fasten your seatbelts. Here we go. All right, guys, I'm back. It is Friday, April 3rd, and it's 9:26 p.m. Eastern Time. We're going to jump right into the news, and I do have some people to thank, but I'm going to leave that to the end. And also at the end, after I've thanked these people, I will give you, those of you that are interested, and that's why I'm leaving it to the end, so that those that are listening that have no interest can just stop listening at that point. But I do have an update on Xander, and it seems like he is going to be getting the help that he so desperately needs. I'll update you on that at the end. All right, well, let's jump right into the news, and it's kind of all together. I was hoping to have two videos for you tonight, but I don't, and I apologize. It's actually my fault. I've been trying to get a lot of stuff done in terms of with Xander and calling vets and everything, and by the time that I had everything worked out, I just laid down and I was actually working on the computer and I fell asleep with the computer open on my lap. So I got behind, and I had meant to do this video a lot earlier as well. Well, shoulda, coulda, woulda. I'll make it up, I promise. And also I am continuing with iPet Go 2. I'm working on that. It's coming shortly. All right, let's jump into the news. I don't think we need this because we have already taken a look at that. That was the lawsuit, and I actually had someone contact me about that, and she is a legal aid and has worked as a legal aid for many years. So she's going to be taking a look at it, but she did verify that this is a real lawsuit, that you know, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, I think it's in the last video I did, and it's actually in the pinned comment. So if you go back to the last video and look in the pinned comments, it is the first, well, it's the only pinned comment there and will be the first one. So you can take a look at that because it's like big news, big news. So anyway, I was really thrilled that I got to hear from somebody that knows and can you know, look this up. So yes, it was verified that it is real, and she said that she's going to take a further look at it. So anyway, let's get into the news. All right, we've got a lot of stuff here, and it's not in any particular order. And of course, because the virus is now part of our everyday life, I guess it's what you would call the new normal, even though it's anything but normal. It's just part of the news. But anyway, let's just jump in here. We've got a bunch of interesting tidbits here as well. Now, listen to this. I think this is very, very interesting. This was from April 1st. Don't think it's an April Fool's joke, but let's listen to what Trump has to say. This person, California, says, boom, Iran wants to make a deal, but they've been given bad advice from John Kerry. Logan Act. Now, let's listen to what Trump has to say here. And let me just make sure that my volume is up here so that nobody's experiencing any difficulties. All right, we're good to go.
And I happen to think they want to make a deal. They just don't know really how to start. And they've been given some bad advice by former Secretary Kerry. Some very bad advice. And I really think they want to make a deal, which is the Logan Act, but we'd have to look at the Logan Act. All you have to do is take a look. I think they've been given very bad advice by Secretary Kerry. I think that they're dying to make a deal. Look, their country's in trouble. Their economics are shot. They've got a lot of bad things going. I think they'd like to make a deal. They can get it settled very quickly. No nuclear weapons. No nuclear weapons. They can't have nuclear weapons. It's very simple. And I happen to think they want to make a deal. They just don't know really how to start.
So Trump is talking here about Iran, of course, and saying, yeah, they want to make a deal, but they've been given bad advice by John Kerry. And then he mentions the Logan Act, which we all know John Kerry is in violation of. So I just thought this was very interesting that he would just mention it out like that. I really do believe that they are honing in on these people, and I do believe that there are arrests going on. I do believe that there are tunnels being Well, you had that great big bust, that big drug bust, $29 million, I believe it was, and it was a tunnel underground from Mexico into Canada. That would be a very, very long tunnel. Mexico into the United States. And, obviously they're doing work in tunnels, or they wouldn't have come across that. Also, it makes me think about, and I don't know if you guys remember this, I was actually almost asleep, and I thought of this, and it kind of jolted me awake the other night. I thought, oh my gosh, I'd forgotten about that. But remember when they were making a request for, they wanted underground facilities so they could practice underground warfare, or whatever they were practicing, they needed underground facilities to practice. And I thought, why is the military practicing underground warfare? Well, I guess now we know, because it seems to make a whole lot of sense in what we're hearing. And there seems to be more and more accounts of this trickling out, that they are indeed bringing out people. I mean, it's not all women, it's not all children, but people that have been sexually trafficked, that have been kept underground. So I don't know. And again, this is anecdotal evidence. We don't have anything, hard and fast that says, yes, this is what's happening. And I don't think they want people to know what's happening. They don't want to give people a heads up either. So, because if we know what they're doing, so does their enemies. So do their enemies. So, it's like that World War II, loose lips sink ships, meaning that, if you happen to be the wife or whatever of a serviceman, and you're just discussing with your friends, well, you don't know if one could be a spy, and you could give up the location of that ship and cause the death of all aboard. So it's a situation like that, I do believe. Anyway, now let's go back, because we can, and we will. Now, let's go down to here. Can't remember what this is offhand, but I'm sure it'll be good. Yes. Why is New Orleans coronavirus death rate 7 times New York's? Obesity is a factor. Now, I know I lived in this area. I went to school in New Orleans and at one point, and I lived in this area for a number of years. So I am familiar with the area. And yes, as obesity goes, I don't think I've ever been anywhere in the States where obesity is as bad as New Orleans area. And boy, those people can cook, really, I miss that tremendously. Now, my hips and my waistband don't miss it, but I miss that cooking because it's just phenomenal. But yeah, I don't know. Is obesity a factor? I don't know. But they're saying that it is. So the coronavirus has been a far deadlier threat in New Orleans than the rest of the United States, with a per capita death rate much higher than in New York City. Doctors, public health officials, and available data says the Big Easy's high levels of obesity and related ailments may be part of the problem. We're just sicker, said Rebecca Gee, who until January was the health secretary for Louisiana and now heads up Louisiana State University's healthcare services division. We already had tremendous healthcare disparities before this pandemic. One can only imagine they are being amplified now. And you know what? From having lived there, I would say that that's true. I think the population, certainly, the population here is 1,000 times healthier than the population down there. I'm not sure why that is. I know that we have access to much better food here, but even when I was living in North Carolina, the people there seemed much, much healthier than the people in the New Orleans, Baton Rouge area. Not sure why that is, but they do eat a lot of fried food and so forth, and they just seem to have a lot of health risks. And, there, we're not just talking, 20 pounds, 50 pounds overweight. Some of these people are hundreds and hundreds of pounds overweight. So I don't know, but it's interesting. I would think that it would be more a case of the fact that the obesity causes weakness in a person's body. I mean, it just does. I mean, you're more susceptible to diabetes and all sorts of things. So maybe because obesity does probably lower your immune system to some point, then that could be the issue. I don't think it's just that, fat people are more prone to get it. I don't think that that's the case, but it's interesting to note anyway. And I'm not going to read this and bore you all with all this, but I wanted to mention it because it's interesting. At least I think so. Now, let's go on to this. This is one of those interesting that you only come across every so often. This is by Larry Sanger. Now, I've never heard of this person, but Larry Sanger, Principal Sanger Consulting, Knowledge Standards Foundation, ex-founder of Wikipedia. And there's a lot of people that I follow that follow this person, so I'm going to go ahead and say that they're probably safe. No guarantee, but anyway, this is what this person has to say. Let me explain something. A friend insists Trump was implicated in the possibly satanic Epstein child trafficking and rape ring. The best argument that he is not, in fact, is the deep state and the media both really hate Trump and want him gone. Well, that's true. I think that if he was one of them, that there wouldn't be so much just rabid hate. That's all I can, it's unbelievable, and it's almost strange to watch. But anyway, let's go on here because he's not finished. If Trump were implicated, then they'd find that evidence against him, the media would talk it up, and there would be instant impeachment and removal in extreme disgrace. That hasn't happened. Ergo, Trump's not implicated. Now, you can't argue with that logic because that's true. That if he were implicated, that's all we'd be hearing 24/7. Even all this about the virus would fade into the background somewhat, and they would focus on, oh my gosh, we got to get this guy out of office. Right now, the only thing they can use against him, or that they're trying to use against him, is the fact that they're saying he didn't respond quickly enough. But all of the Democrats were, bashing him because he had stopped flights from China, and yet they're all saying he didn't act fast enough. I mean, it's ludicrous, and of course we know they're probably trying to ramp up for impeachment 2.0 because I guess they haven't wasted enough of our money yet. They don't actually work for a living. They just try to make things up. I don't know what they actually do, but their districts are an absolute mess. And with this virus going on, if I was in their districts, I would be absolutely mortified that they are placing that above the lives and the safety of the people in their own districts. But hey, I'm not in their districts, so and I'm thankful for that. But hopefully they will be voted out. Anyway, let's go on here. So the establishment can't let it come out. How does one respond? With all the other arguments, Trump was the only former Epstein acquaintance who spoke at length and unguardedly against Epstein in 2009. Would a guilty man do that? So, and he's saying this, so the establishment can't let it come out, is what people are saying. That's what people are saying. Oh, no, he's guilty in that, guilty by association, and whatnot. But it doesn't even make sense. It doesn't. Makes no sense, because if there was even a shred of evidence connecting him to Epstein at all and his activities, the press would be all over that. The world would be all over that. So I just thought that I would include this. And the Trump administration has been successfully and publicly chasing down pedo networks. Now, why would they do that if they were involved in those same networks? They wouldn't. And people wouldn't be so freaked out about the Trump administration. He'd probably be in there protecting them, not chasing them down and bringing them to justice. The president formed an interagency task force to monitor and combat trafficking in persons. In fact, I don't think any agency or any administration before Trump has done as much for victims of trafficking as he has, because they are actively out there seeking these people. They are hunting them down. So, and he goes on, and a National Advisory Committee on the Sex Trafficking of Children and Youth in the United States, I don't know what he's saying there, but says by March 2017, the administration made more than 1,500 arrests for sex trafficking. That's compared to less than 400 arrests by the Obama administration in all of 2016. That's something. Don't think he would do that if he was involved, now would he? And why is the MSM ignoring Trump's sex trafficking bust? Well, we know why. I don't even have to go there and read that. We know why they're ignoring them. They don't want to give him any credit for anything. Trump signed executive orders that allow military tribunals, property seizure, and the death penalty against human traffickers. If he were implicated in Epstein's trafficking, he'd be signing his death warrant. That's right, because that would mean that all of his assets, all his hotels, everything could be seized. Why would he write an executive order like that if he was in any way involved, or any of his family? Doesn't make sense, does it? Of course not. Trump kicked Epstein out of Mar-a-Lago and all his properties permanently when the latter was discovered recruiting an underage girl in a private room, and cut ties thereafter. So say court documents. Trump never visited Epstein Island, so there's that. This is harder to defend briefly, but there is substantive. I'm sorry, sometimes I mess up my words. I used to have a speech impediment when I was little, and I worked very hard to overcome it. But every now and then, I still stumble, even if I know how to say a word. If so, then though through Q, Trump is doing a lot to bring down the pedo rings. Q has done more than anyone to blow the lid off Epstein. And 7, I'll just point to someone else's addition here. And it says, indeed, a fool may argue that he was arrested in order to have him murdered. Of course, this is preposterous. Epstein could have been quietly offed outside of DOJ if that was Trump's goal. Other evidence against criminals comes from the cover-up opposed to the initial crimes. But the real big point for me is the one I started with. Maybe Atchison 1220 put it better than I did, but then they bring down the Clintons too. But there are enough Dems in the deep state who would be happy to see that happen, don't you think? And it says the truth of omission. If there was a connection between Trump and Epstein, the mainstream media would be talking about it night and day. They have video from a party 20 years ago, and Trump still has hair, and the women are clearly adults. So there you go. And we know that Trump was a ladies' man. We know that. That's no surprise. I never thought that he was a pastor or anything, and if he can run the country, then that's great. I mean, we have to separate all that. No, he's not an angel, but he's the man for the job. That's for sure. On that, consider this solid point. Also, Amy Robach listed a number of people she could have nailed with Epstein, and Trump wasn't mentioned. And regardless of however she feels about Trump, taking him down with Epstein would have been a tremendous boost to her career. That's true. So anyway, I'm going to leave that there, but I thought that was very interesting because I still hear that come up every now and then about, he was in Epstein's little black book. He may have been, I'm not sure, but he did not go to Epstein Island. And if there was a shred of evidence of anything, they'd be all over it, and especially the Dems, because they want him out more than just about anything. So, I think more than anything, probably more than life itself, because they know that They know it's not going to go well for them. They know they're not stupid. I mean, they act stupid, absolutely, but probably they can't be as stupid as they act, because then I would be surprised that they're able to even feed themselves. But who knows? All right, let's go back now. Now, this is another Twitter thread by the same guy. So let's look at what this is, because I've forgotten. Yes, child sex trafficking by elites is a horrible reality, and of course we all know that. Below, I outline the case for this claim. Please share with friends so they can wake up. Favor? After each tweet, please post the most persuasive online evidence you know of. There is proof of all of this, and of course there is. 2, begin with Jeffrey Epstein. His circle of friends features some of the most famous people in the world, people like Bill Clinton, Bill Gates, Prince Andrew, even Donald Trump. Look up the Lolita Express flight log in his black book. Quite a stunning social circle, really. He was arrested twice because he was a pedophile who abused many teen girls. He had an island in the Caribbean in which this took place, which by all credible accounts was visited by many of his famous friends. There is courtroom evidence that Epstein's friends sexually abused the teen girls he collected, who, as young as 12, were basically sex slaves. But I'm just scratching the surface here. There are hair-curling claims about a temple on the island and rites performed in the hill underneath it. You won't have to believe that to be shocked by Epstein's circle, but the occult connections keep recurring disturbingly. That is what you've heard, and if you're like most people, probably already forgotten about it. But we are not even close to being done. Did you know that ABC News had this story in 2016 and covered it up? They did. Everyone knows that too, but few are talking about it. Did you know that it was covered up in a different way last 2008 when Epstein was sentenced to a mere slap on the wrist? Why on earth, in the name of all that's holy? Because he's so powerful and has powerful friends to protect, you say. Right, think about that. Hard. More of the story came out last summer, but no one else has been jailed, not even Epstein's chief accomplice, Ghislaine Maxwell, whose location is unknown. Few in the scandal-crazed media seem to care much. That's weird, isn't it? We, the people, would learn much more about the suspects and allegations if more court documents were unsealed, but massive numbers of Epstein case documents have been sealed. The court system is protecting the guilty, again, as they did in 2008. They do that a lot, turns out. Now, think. This doesn't take evidence. It takes a bit of brave thinking. What must our beloved and distinguished world of famous, rich, and powerful people be like if Epstein's friends, those people, are violating teen sex slaves and the courts protect them? It sure sounds like A, many of the beautiful people know about child sex trafficking by elites, and B, some participate in it, and C, the media and courts cover it up. But systematically, do they really? Surely not, you say. Sadly, this happens over and over and over. Look these up. Note, separate tweet below for each. The Catholic Church, Pedowood, underage groupies, Jimmy Savile, Rotherham, CPS disappearances, the Kinsey Institute, John of God, Nexium, The Finders, Mark Dutroux, Laura Silsby, and yes, Pizza Gate. I don't want to say that word too closely together. The Catholic Church has had massive numbers of pedophiles. They never go away. Why not? Why don't the police move in on them? Why has it gone on for generations? And there's evidence it's condoned. Yes, condoned and organized within the church. So, yeah, let me see if there's any more here. Okay, let me just see here. And then, of course, we looked at the one where Trump because a lot of people have tried to make the connection between Epstein and Trump. And yes, there is one, but there's no criminal connection there at all. Epstein was very wealthy. He moved in the circles of the elite. So did Donald Trump. It is not surprising that they, ran into each other in social situations and whatever, and were probably casual friends until, so I don't buy that. And I doubt that you do either. So let's go on here because we've got a lot to get to tonight. This from Joe M. He said, I find it interesting that in Bob Dylan's 17-minute song, he refers to JFK's killer as the Wolf Man. That was the actual killer's Secret Service code name. How long have you been following Q, Bob? And of course, we know that George Herbert Walker Bush's USS code name was Timber Wolf. The gray wolf, Canis lupus, also known as timber wolf, shares a common ancestry with the domestic dog. All right. So, and that was an old Q post. And then this from Emerald Robinson. If you're wondering why Americans don't have enough masks, you can thank Barack Obama, who ignored requests to stockpile them. If you're wondering why Americans don't have enough factories to make masks, you can ask Clinton and George H.W. Bush, who sent our jobs to China. Well, she makes a good point, doesn't she? It's true. And let's come down here from Donald Trump. Massive amounts of medical supplies, even hospitals and medical centers, are being delivered directly to states and hospitals by the federal government. Some have insatiable appetites and are never satisfied. Politics? Remember, we are a backup for them. The complainers should have stocked up and ready. Should have been stocked up and ready long before this crisis hit. Other states are thrilled with the job we have done, sending many ventilators today with thousands being built, 51 large cargo planes coming in with medical supplies, prefer sending directly to hospitals. Now, why would he say that? He doesn't want these Democrat dummies to be stockpiling them and saying, Trump won't send us any respirators. Whatever will we do? And I'm not making fun because there's hospitals that are in need of them. But then there's people like Cuomo who was sitting on a stockpile of them. Why? To make Trump look bad? I think so. So there you go. And this from The Persistence. Under President Trump's leadership, the federal government delivered 11.6 million N95 respirator masks, 26 million surgical masks, 5.3 million face shields, 4.4 million gowns, 22 million gloves, 8,100 ventilators, plus 1K, plus another 1,000 in 48 hours. All right. Now, let's go on here and let's look at this from American Girl. Have you heard of the quantum dot tattoo? Yes, if you've been listening to this channel, you have heard of it because I went over it in one of my videos not too long ago, actually, and how they were going to be putting information into that dot tattoo. Bill Gates has been funding research on it. He says that digital certificates will be used to determine who had COVID-19, who's recovered from it, who was recently tested for it, and who has received the V for it. So that's what's coming, people. Whether we like it or not, that's what they have planned for us. And we will probably have to provide proof that we have been V'd against it. They censor that word, so that is why I'm being elusive there. All right, and over here at Elmhurst, and that is the hospital in New York, according to a protocol that was communicated to staff on Saturday and again on Sunday and was shared with the Washington Post, doctors would be able to unilaterally designate CV patients as DNR, which means do not resuscitate, or DNI, which means do not intubate. Which means they will not be eligible for a ventilator, even if it goes against the wishes of the patient or family. Getting the agreement of a second doctor is optional. The guidance states, but it is not required. The language of the ethical framework states that if the order is in effect, doctors have no obligation to offer or initiate the treatment, allowing them to make decisions on a case-by-case basis. So doctors can, if you're at a certain age and, they need the ventilators for other people, they can give a do not resuscitate or a do not intubate order, which means they're not going to be eligible for a ventilator. So, and I would imagine that's probably going to be for the older people, which I think it's awful. And I understand. It's like that old game you play almost in every first year psychology course. You have to play this game where you've got a group of people on a boat and you have to decide, okay, who's going to live and who's going to die, because they can't all live. And, it's an awful game and I hate it. I hate the premise of it. But that's exactly what they're doing. This is a real life scenario of that. Who gets to live and who gets to die? Can't all live. Somebody has to die. Who's it going to be? And obviously, most people in the group voted, that it should be the oldest person on the boat. Well, I think that's stupid because the oldest person on the boat probably had all the wisdom. But anyway, that's where we are, and it's happening here as well. All right. Faced with a crush of patients, besieged New York hospitals struggle with life or death decisions. Some have activated do not resuscitate policies for CV patients, canceled all but the most urgent surgeries, and abandoned the use of isolation rooms. And this from Dan Bongino. Pelosi's unbelievable. Yes, she is. She holds the Wuhan virus bill hostage so she can deliver barrels of pork to her special interests. Then she slides in a few goodies at the end with our money. And now she is the one demanding investigations into how the relief money is spent. What a fraud. Well, I have other names for her as well, but they're not as nice as fraud, so I will refrain. Okay, and let's go here. And while we're going there, I'm going to pour myself some more water. It's good stuff. All right. He said, what the heck is wrong with people? Mike Lindell is a patriot trying to help Americans during this crisis. And look what someone did. He said, my pillow stand has been, because that's the name of his company is My Pillow. The stand in the store that he's in has been wrecked because this person is, I don't get it really. Because this person mentioned Jesus, then I guess we should deny his help to help Americans with face masks and so forth. I mean, it's ridiculous. Anyway, let's hear what he has to say here.
I'm here at Costco right now in just outside of Fort Worth, Texas, where Mike Lindell, the My Pillow guy, he's got his setup here. Love his pillows, love his sheets. He's actually supposed to be on my podcast here in the next couple of weeks. We're trying to set it up. But William here told me that a woman came and started shredding all these boxes. She was tearing open the boxes. He had to go get security, and when Costco came back, these pillows were all over the floor. Why? Because Mike Lindell supports the President of the United States. Are you kidding me? What in the world is a woman going crazy for, going off on Mike Lindell for this? So if you see Mike's pillows in Costco, support this brother, because he supports Donald Trump, and so do I. God bless you guys.
I would reiterate that, he needs to be supported, this guy. And, the thing is, it's not that they're mad at Mike Lindell. What is his name? Lindell or Liddell? It's Lindell. They're not really mad at Mike Lindell. They just hate Jesus. They hate the gospel. And that's what this is about. It's not him personally. Oh my gosh. My cat Xander just jumped from a large distance, and he's not supposed to because of his injury. I don't even know how he got up there. All right, well, let's go back now and go on. Okay. And this person says, this is a damn fine question. Responding to Bards of War, USNS Comfort, the hospital ships are not allowed to deliver babies. So why are there baby incubators? Drips will become floods. The truth will shock the world. Now, many people believing that that ship is actually to help those that have been the victims of underground trafficking when they rescue them from the tunnels and so forth. I happen to subscribe to that, particular theory, and that would explain the baby incubators, because they're not allowed to deliver babies. So why would they have all those incubators there? So I don't know, but I'm just saying, could be. And this is interesting. We talked about this before, but many of you may have forgotten, or some of you. Money Talks. My gosh, a yawn almost came out. And forgive me, because I know it made some of you guys yawn. I know it did. All right. Why is the World Health Organization being so indulgent of China, source of COVID-19? WHO Director General Tedros Adhanom, whatever his last name is, has been effusive in his praise for its response, while his assistant, Bruce Aylward, has lauded it on the airwaves. Both have conspicuously failed to criticize China's early dishonesty or question later information coming out of the country. The obeisance became common. The obeisance became comical last week when an online interviewer from Hong Kong brought up Taiwan's apparently extremely effective response to the crisis, where it pretended not to hear the question about the island China refuses to see as anything other than part of the People's Republic, and then, when the hack tried to repeat the question, switched off the connection. Yeah, when the hack tried to repeat the question, he switched off the connection. WHO's kowtowing might just be related to its own precarious financial position, which makes it increasingly reliant on Beijing. Recent figures show that the U.S., nominally WHO's largest funder, is late with its two latest annual fees, owing about $100 million as part of a general withholding and delaying of payments to UN agencies. China, second largest contributor, is more reliable. I don't know if that's so or not, but I think that more and more people are calling for an investigation into the WHO, because it is most definitely obvious that they are in the back pocket of communist China. So that will probably be ongoing, but when all this settles down, it'll be interesting to see what happens to WHO. All right. Elon Musk said he was donating 1,000 ventilators. He really donated 1,000 CPAP machines. Big difference there. Now, a CPAP machine, if you have, what do they call that? Sleep apnea. You use a CPAP machine, and it helps to keep you from stopping breathing in the night, which is never a good thing. So the head of ResMed medical device maker appeared on Kramer today and said that the 1,000 machines Musk said he would be donating were 5-year-old ResMed BiPAP breathing devices, usually used to treat sleep apnea, which I presume were bought in bulk at deep discount, because after 5 years, I know up here, after 5 years, they want you to get a new machine. And I know up here, the government actually pays a portion of it for people that need sleep apnea machines, because it can worsen health problems. It can worsen heart disease and so forth. So yeah, he probably got these really, really cheap, because after 5 years, they're really not good for much except well, scrap. So yeah, that's a long way from 1,000 ventilators. A long, long way. All right, and Great Ormond Street Hospital, London, 73 out of 181 staff tested positive, and 318 staff members are off sick. Social distancing in the hospital is a fiction. So that's a little alarming that 73 out of 181 staff are positive and 318 are off sick. Especially during this time, because we need them. You know, this is where when we need our medical people in all countries, and they're the ones getting hit the hardest with this. And it's no wonder, because a lot of them don't have the proper equipment, which is not right. All right. Do you believe in coincidence? I believe that there is such a thing as coincidence, but I know when it comes to all this, Q has repeatedly stated that there are no coincidences. So let's take a look at this. Let me see if I can make this a little bigger for you tiny phone people. All right. So we have this from March 27. Trump tweets the following: invoke P means Defense Production Act. All right. So then we have this. I love Michigan. One of the reasons we are doing such a great job for them during this horrible pandemic. I love Michigan. One of the reasons we are doing such a great job for them during this horrible pandemic. Yet your governor, Gretchen Half Whitmer, is way in over her head. Should be head, of course. So there's an extra A there. And we know that he often does that to form a word. He'll do several tweets that have missing whatever. So she doesn't have a clue, likes blaming everyone for her own ineptitude. So it's interesting because he puts half in quotation marks, and we've got an extra A here. So add the P from the 27th of March, and you've also got this from the 27th of March. He's telling us, he's giving us an A, P-A. It's half. It's half. So we're looking for more letters, and we come over here, March 28. Very often, fake news, lamestream media should be forced to reveal sources, very much as they did in the long ago past. If they did that, the media would be trusted again, and fake news would largely be a thing. And instead of the past, he puts if the past. So we've got an A, P-A-I. And let's come down here. And this is 4/2/20. Letter to Schumer is missing an N. Or in the alternative, except he left out the end, call Rear Admiral. So we've got the word pain spelt out. And I think that that's the phase we are certainly in now. I don't think the general public knows what's happening behind the scene. And we don't really know either, except for these clues that are being, dropped out there. So I have no doubt, though, that the pain is right now, and the punishment is going to be involved in that pain, of course. So, and this 14th of February, 2019, no mercy, no bargaining, a traitor's justice, P-A-I-N-Q. So interesting, if you ask me. All right, well, let's go on. We might as well. Let's look at this. All right. And this person says, this is some scary shite, if it's true. Well, let's listen to this, and you can make up your own mind. I happen to believe it is, but you can make up your own mind. So let's, and I do think, I am one of those people that do think that 5G has something to do with this. I think it may not be causing it, but it's making it exponentially worse. So it may be causing some of the symptoms we're seeing, but anyway, let's just listen to this.
This wasn't here, but now they're injecting 5G towers in the end. Okay, cool. That's it. Now we're fucking gonna die.
Showing the dead animals from the 5G, or they're assuming it's from 5G.
What's that all about? Why is there dead ducks everywhere?
I don't know. It's such a shame, isn't it?
Yeah, but this they're talking about dead animals everywhere. Like something's going on, and they reckon it's to do with the 5G. How's these animals just dying?
Tree there with loads of birds in it. Look, there's literally loads of birds flying around, but on the floor, and they're literally falling out the tree as we're speaking. Literally falling out the tree. They're everywhere.
That's sad.
Falling out the tree dead, one after the other. You know what I mean? It's weird, man. Look, that was still alive. Still trying.
Aww.
Somehow I'm swimming up.
I'm going through fish ponds in Bristol, and listen to that meter. They put a brand new transmitter right in the middle of the street here, and people coming up and down this road are getting absolutely hammered. Listen to that go, it's right at the top of the meter. Look at that. It doesn't get much higher than that, and look what it is. That's what we're going past. It is outrageous.
So, people taking pictures of just dead animals where they're installing this, just dead animals on the street, birds falling onto the street. This is not good, and it's not good for us, and it's part of this infrastructure that's going in worldwide to kind of, it's a prison, really. It's an electronic prison that they're installing, because this will be used for more control. That is what it's for. So, yeah, not good. All right, let's come back here and let's go on. Okay, now we're going to continue on with that same theme here a little bit. This by Woody Harrelson. Role of 5G in the coronavirus epidemic in Wuhan, China. Now, this is by Martin Paul, PhD, Professor Emeritus, Washington State University. Wuhan, the capital of Hubei province in China, was chosen to be China's first 5G smart city and the location of China's first smart 5G highway. Wuhan is also the center of the horrendous CV epidemic. The possible linkage between these two events was first discussed in an October 31st, 2019 article entitled "Wuhan was the province where 5G was rolled out, now the center of a deadly virus." The question that is being raised here is not whether 5G is responsible for the virus, but rather whether 5G radiation acting via VGCC activation may be exacerbating the viral replication or the spread of lethality of the disease. That's what I think. Let's backtrack and look at the recent history of 5G in Wuhan in order to get some perspective on those questions. An Asia Times article dated February 12, 2019, stated that there were 31 different 5G base stations, that is antennae, in Wuhan at the end of 2018. There were plans developed much later that approximately 10,000 5G antennae would be put in place at the end of 2019, with most of those being on 5G LED smart street lamps. The first such smart street lamp was put in place on May 14th, 2019, but large numbers only started being put in place in October 29th, such that there was a furious pace of such placement in the last 2.5 months of 2019. These findings show that the rapid pace of the CV epidemic developed at least roughly as the number of 5G antennae became extraordinarily high. So we have this finding that China's first 5G smart city and smart highway is the epicenter of the epidemic, and this finding that the epidemic only became rapidly more severe as the number of 5G antennae skyrocketed. Are these findings coincidental, or does 5G have some causal role in exacerbating the CV epidemic? In order to answer that question, we need to determine whether the downstream effects of VGCC activation exacerbate the viral replication, the effects of viral infection, especially those that have roles in the spread of the virus, and also the mechanism by which this CV causes death. Accordingly, the replication of the viral RNA is simulated by oxidative stress. Other aspects of viral replication, including those involved in the spread of the virus, are simulated by increased intercellular calcium, Ca2+, oxidative stress, NF-kappa B, elevation, inflammation, and apoptosis, each of which are increased following EMF exposure. The first citation below shows an important role of VGCC activation in simulating coronavirus infection. And that was all there was that was posted. But this is very interesting because I thought it was crazy at first. I really did, until I started looking into it. Now I'm convinced that there is some sort of cause and effect there, definitely. And it seems that in areas where a lot of 5G has been installed, that the virus seems much worse. So I don't know, but I do believe that there's something to this. And we already know that 5G is very, very damaging on the human body, well, and mammal bodies as well. We don't know the effects. I don't know if they know the effects on fish and wildlife and other wildlife and well, I guess wildlife, it's mammals, but reptiles, and also plants. I mean, I've heard that this will cause like trees that are next to the tower to just die. That's not good. So anyway, I thought that was a little I thought that was very interesting, to tell you the truth. And obviously Woody Harrelson is awake, so that's good news as well. Now let's look at this. This will make you want to spit. It made me want to spit, and I don't do that because that's just nasty. UN wants a 10% global tax to pay for new shared responsibility program to address CV pandemic. Oh, well, isn't that nice of the UN? 10% global tax. Yeah, right now when the economy is worldwide is tanking. Yeah, that will help a whole lot, won't it? Right. Well, can't get blood from a stone, can you? Like the American left, the globalists never let a crisis pass without attempting a power grab. Well, isn't that true? The WHO lied about the seriousness of the global coronavirus pandemic. The WHO praised China despite their continued lying. And WHO leader Tedros Adhanom, whatever his last name is, then later created an international panic and global depression when he overstated the mortality rate of the COVID-19 pandemic. And so let's come down here. But now the WHO's sister organization, the United Nations, believes they should be paid more. After the pandemic, they want more power and cash, a lot more power and cash. Secretary General Antonio Guterres announced his shared responsibility global solidarity plan this week. These people are so evil. I think they must stay up at night just, praying to their overlords to give them something even more evil. I'd say I don't understand, but I do understand because we're in a spiritual war and we wrestle not against flesh and blood. We are wrestling against demons and principalities, and they unfortunately masquerade behind human beings who may be or may not be aware that they're being used. And this is, I don't know. Says these jackasses won't even pay their parking tickets and they want more money. I don't know what that's about, but the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres has announced the creation of a fund for addressing the global CV pandemic, and he is simultaneously asking nations to contribute the equivalent of at least 10% of the annual income of the entire planet to a massive, human-centered, innovative, and coordinated stimulus package that would be administered at the international level. I don't know about you, but I find that just terrifying. Although Guterres doesn't state it explicitly, he seems to be connecting the new fund, which he calls a dedicated COVID-19 response and recovery fund, with the massive stimulus package plan, announcing both measures in the same press release. They are making an all-out bid for global government. You know they are. We can see it. Thank God for Donald Trump. At least I hope he's on our side. He appears to be, and he's, done only good things so far. But I just hope he's really on our side. I believe he is, but again, we always have to be alert. If countries were to accept the plan, the United Nations or some similar coordinating agency would be given the equivalent of approximately 8.7 trillion US dollars, an unprecedented amount that would be 2,900 times greater than the UN's annual budget of 3 billion US dollars. Yeah, that's going to happen. The proposed plan would effectively place a global agency, presumably the UN itself, because it's got such a great track record, in charge of propping up the economies of the world during the CV crisis, placing it in charge of 10% of global income. Sure, what could go wrong? Yes, what a wonderful idea. Let's look at this. I can't remember what this is. Must be something good. I wouldn't give you anything bad. I don't think. Oh, yes, we've looked at this already. We don't need to look at it again. So we won't. All right, let's go back here. Let's take that out of there so I know that. Okay, and let's look at this. Donald J. Trump, my favorite president and yours, got to do something about these missing children grabbed by the perverts, too many incidents, fast trial, death penalty. But look at this. He put Chidler. I can't even pronounce that. Anyways, the L should be before the D, obviously. So he's trying to tell us something, and if you guys have any idea what he might be trying to tell us, or if you've seen somebody decode this, let us know in the comments below, because I'm curious. I know that it definitely means something. People think he's stupid because he makes these typos. They're not typos. I mean, if they are, he corrects them. If he lets it stand, then yeah, it means something. Now, my gosh, I've got a lot of stuff to go through still, don't I? Well, let's pick and choose here. We already looked at that. We don't need to look at that again. Oh, let's look at this, because you'll never hear this from the mainstream media. Not ever. All right. Okay, this was posted today. An anonymous donation providing lunch to some hardworking staff at Hackensack Hospital this afternoon. We are so grateful. Well, who do you think is doing all of these? Well, we'll find out. Because this is happening around the United States. Exclusive, the Trump campaign has been donating meals to hospitals around the country to feed doctors, nurses, and first responders on the front lines of the CV battle, Fox News has learned. Now, here's the thing, they're doing it anonymously. It's not like they're wanting credit for this. Since last Thursday, President Trump's re-election campaign has been calling up local restaurants and ordering large amounts of food to be delivered to more than a dozen hospitals in New York, New Jersey, Washington State, and Michigan. The campaign has been placing these orders anonymously, but Fox News learned about the effort and sources confirmed it. One source told Fox News that the campaign was looking to not only express gratitude for all the first responders treating patients with COVID-19, but to support local restaurants. They're doing it as a donor who cares, one source told Fox News, so nothing politically is tied to it. We're just trying to, show a thank you. They're trying to send things like, they're trying to send things that are like local restaurants that may need support and cool restaurant icons of the area that may need the business, one source said. The source told Fox News that the campaign has already spent tens of thousands of dollars on the effort, which they plan to expand in the coming days and weeks. Fox News confirmed that as part of the donations, an anonymous individual placed a large order at Giovanni's Italian Deli in I'm not sure how to pronounce that, Secaucus, New Jersey, to be delivered to Hudson Regional Hospital. They had only told us their first name. An employee of Giovanni's told Fox News on Thursday they called us and they had us donate meals for the nurses and doctors, an assortment of things, 40 platters of pasta, salads, and sandwiches. The employee added, "We're happy to do this, trust me." Sources told Fox News that the campaign also ordered from Nick's Grill in Kirkland, Washington, Chit Chat Diner in Morristown, New Jersey, Turning Point of Long Branch, New Jersey, and Antonio's Trattoria in the Bronx, New York, among others. The managers of Antonio's Trattoria, in an interview with Fox News, said that a man called the restaurant Monday to have 100 individual orders delivered to Lincoln Hospital in the Bronx. It was 20 penne vodkas, 20 pastas with tomato sauce, 30 chicken parmesans, and 30 house salads with grilled chicken. Oh, I'm getting so hungry. The manager told, no, the manager didn't say that, but I said that. I'm hungry now. The manager told Fox News, I love Italian food. He only gave his first name and said he wanted to remain anonymous. When told it was a member of the Trump campaign supporting their business and the hospital, the manager said, "That's awesome. That's great. That's really great. Thank you." And an Instagram post from the Chit Chat Diner said, an anonymous donation provided lunch to some hardworking staff at Hackensack Hospital this afternoon. We are so grateful. I like that picture of Donald Trump. I really do. He is definitely a president, the people's president. That's what he is. He is the people's president. So let's go back here, and I want to show you this. From Wayne Dupree, Detroit bus driver who made a video complaining about coughing passengers dies of CV. The people who are on the front lines of this virus are heroes, and I reiterate that. I absolutely agree. They are. The people who are on the front lines of this virus are heroes. Sadly, they're in so much danger because many of the frontline folks are coming into direct contacts with hundreds of people every day who may be carrying the virus. My daughter is an essential worker, and it scares me that she's out there working with the public face-to-face in close quarters. She's careful, but it's still concerning. Case in point, a Detroit bus driver who took to video recently to complain about a passenger on his bus who was coughing up a storm has now died of CV. The story is so heartbreaking and really shows the importance of staying at home if you can, especially if you're not feeling well. You can watch the video below. Now, I'm not gonna, how long is the video?
Video of a Detroit bus driver who just died of COVID-19 is going viral. Jason Hargrove posted it 2 weeks ago after encountering a woman on his bus who was openly coughing, exposing him and other passengers. It is now a stark reminder of how easily people can contract this virus and how easily it can turn fatal. Some bus drivers now calling for a sick out or work stoppage. Jim Kurtzner, live downtown at Eastern Market with this video. It is disturbing, Jim, and how the mayor is responding.
Yeah, Glenda, this is gut-wrenching. It's heartbreaking, but it really does drive the point home that we all need to be safe. This is one DDOT bus driver, and this is now, sadly, his living legacy.
But listen, man, let me tell you something.
He's sweating and clearing his throat through a life and death message posted almost 2 weeks ago.
This coronavirus for real. And we out here as public workers doing our job, trying to make an honest living to take care of our families.
Pictures of D-Dot buses are on the Facebook page of Jason Hargrove. Says a woman in her late 50s or 60s got on his bus and was coughing without any regard for him and several other passengers.
And cough several times without covering up your mouth. And you know that we in the middle of a pandemic. That lets me know that some folks don't care. Utterly don't give a excuse my language, but that's how I feel right about now.
Bus Drivers Union President Glenn Tolbert tells 7 Action News he's emotional. He's trying to make sense of this after getting the call about Jason's passing last night from Jason's wife. 7 other drivers have tested positive. 100 drivers are in quarantine. They have a total of 530 drivers. Some saying they're not safe, even with cleaning, and want a work stoppage.
I don't know how you can watch it and not tear up. He knew his life was being put in jeopardy, even though he was going to work for the citizens of Detroit every day, by somebody who just didn't care.
Jason Hargrove was pleading with people to live, to stay safe, to stay healthy. He didn't know that just 12 days later, his voice would be silenced.
For us,
I'm going to end that there because I do have some other things that I want to get to. I'm sorry, I laughed at the lady doing the sign language, not because sign language is funny. I think it's awesome. I would love to learn it. I did learn a little bit of it when I was working in at Lowe's Corporation, or their head office, but not enough of it. Anyway, she was so expressive that it made me laugh. Okay. Now, let's go back here to see if there's anything else that we absolutely positively have to cover before I go for this evening. Did you know that the CV alters brain function? Apparently it does. Let's look at this. That's kind of interesting. Hang on. Zombie apocalypse is upcoming. The coronavirus is now known to alter brain function and make some victims aggressive and disoriented, not satire. Interesting that they had to put that. If you've seen the recent news about some CV victims aggressively coughing on other people as a kind of assault, you know that something is very, very strange with this virus. Not only does it infect the nervous system and utterly destroy some people's sense of smell and taste, we now know that it alters brain function by destroying brain tissue, and this leads certain people to exhibit rabies-like behavior with aggressive attacks that actually spread the virus like something right out of a zombie movie. The UK Mirror is now reporting that doctors in Italy and China are documenting neurological conditions across CV patients, including brain swelling and brain damage. One man lost his ability to speak, reports the Mirror. A woman in her 50s from Detroit has lost big chunks of brain cells, and similar central nervous problems have been reported in Italy and China. With the 58-year-old checked in, when the 58-year-old checked in, she was confused and disoriented, as well as having many of the telltale symptoms of COVID-19. A CAT scan of her brain was carried out, which showed dark spots, indicating a fluid buildup of substantial brain cell loss. The patient's thalamus, crucial in sending sensory signals for processing, showed particular damage, while other scans showed brain lesions or bleeds in the temporal lobe. Note the language: confused and disoriented, and, as you'll see below, also sometimes violent. This is starting to sound like the aggressive, infectious zombies found in movies like I Am Legend, starring Will Smith. That I don't think I'm going to read all of that, but yeah, it's interesting because apparently, and we're seeing this because we're seeing people out there coughing, coughing on elevator buttons, coughing on produce. I don't know if this is maybe when you have this virus, the virus is trying to keep itself alive and trying to replicate by spreading itself. I don't know. But you've got that Chinese woman that was somewhere in California, and she was in a Walmart touching all the computers, and she seemed flushed. She didn't seem like she was well, but I don't know, but it's interesting. Okay, here we go. Let me see. Yes, and here is something else I wanted to mention. Make sure you are getting enough zinc. They're saying that that is very, very important. So it could help protect you. Now, I'm not going to say it's going to protect you. I'm just saying it could help protect you against this virus. So yeah, make sure you are getting enough zinc. And I think what I'm going to do is this is interesting, and then I'm going to leave the rest for tomorrow. So let's take a look at this. All right. Now, I had never thought of this until I saw this and I went, oh my gosh, that makes so much sense. All right. COVID-19 checkpoints aid in combating human trafficking. That would be true, wouldn't it? Our response to the COVID-19 pandemic has been to increase checkpoints to screen passengers in vehicles and at airports. These checkpoints often involve informing travelers of self-quarantine requirements when entering a new state and screenings for the CV by public health officials. They also offer an opportunity to educate the public in reducing the spread of COVID-19. Florida's Republican Governor Ron DeSantis recently announced that 3,400 travelers from New York were screened and that more checkpoints have been added throughout the state. Checkpoints have been established along the I-10 corridor and other Florida highways. A new checkpoint has been set up in the Florida-Georgia border along I-95 to screen travelers entering Florida. This is an extension of the screenings conducted by the Florida National Guard and public health officials that already exist at major airports. A number of states have activated their National Guard personnel to assist in stemming the spread, and President Donald Trump issued an executive order calling for up to 1 million service members from the National Guard and military reserves to assist in the efforts to eradicate the pandemic. While Pentagon officials have not yet projected the number of expected reserve activations, it is likely that additional reserves will be used in various capacities to assist in the battle. Homeland Security officials, law enforcement, public health officials, and the National Guard are likely to interact with the public. While the focus is on addressing the COVID-19 pandemic, this public interaction provides a valuable opportunity to also combat human trafficking. According to the Polaris Project, which studies human trafficking, it is estimated that the total number of victims in the United States is in the hundreds of thousands. The International Labor Organization says human trafficking is a $150 billion industry worldwide. Victims of both sex and labor trafficking commonly travel on interstate highways and through airports. As a result, it is important that all of those at checkpoints and screening locations are aware of the indications or the indicators of human trafficking and understand their role in combating this crime. Indicators of human trafficking that may warrant further questioning include bruises and injuries at various stages of healing, persons who appear coached on what to say when speaking to officials, interstate travel that involves minors and adults who are not family members, travelers who show signs of being denied food, water, sleep, or medical care, someone who is unusually timid and scared to speak with officials, someone who refuses to answer basic questions and consistently defers questions to somebody else that is present, travelers who do not have any personal items with them, travelers who do not have identification in their possession, travelers who are subject to unreasonable security measures such as backseat passengers where the doors are locked and they are unable to open them on their own, travelers who are unwilling to make eye contact with officials and are unusually frightened by their presence. When indicators of human trafficking are observed, further questioning is needed. While these indicators may raise concerns, it is important to evaluate blah, blah, blah. Okay, I think we can, extrapolate from what they've already said that that's just common sense. So that's good. I never thought of that as being a plus side of being stopped and questioned, but it is a plus side of that. I mean, the more people that we can save from that, what must be an awful, horrendous life, the better. All right. Well, I'm going to thank a few people, and they are coffee donate. I always want to say donators, and I don't know why, because they're donors. They're not donators. It's weird. I always want to say that too. Anyway, Joanna, thank you very much. She's a long-time listener. And Ursa Bruin, thank you so very much. You contributed via coffee, and I got something in snail mail today from Susan Sinclair. Thank you so much. She sent me gloves, and they're awesome gloves, and they fit perfectly, just, to protect myself from this virus. And they're latex free, so they're not going to break me out or anything. A lot of people have latex allergies. So yeah, I'm absolutely so grateful for that. Thank you, Susan, because you can't get gloves around here anywhere. And I did have some gloves that you use for painting, but they just fall apart. I mean, I can't even wear them around for like an hour. They're gone. And certainly when I get out to pump gas or anything like that, I want to have gloves on, or going into a grocery store where I'm touching items. So yeah, thank you so much. And also, new Patreon. We've got Ashley, who's not only a new Patreon member, but she also increased her pledge. So thank you very much, Ashley. And Laser Matt. Thank you so much. I appreciate you guys. And now for the news about Xander, for anybody that is interested, I did get a hold of a new vet today, and discussed with her what was going on. And she said, if she could get the x-rays and be able to examine him through the x-rays, she would be happy to do the surgery, because it was a serious condition. It needs to be addressed. So she got the x-rays, and she called me, and she said that she could do the surgery as early as Monday, and was actually quite shocked that they had sent me home with a cat that needed surgery badly. And also, I had not been given strong enough pain medication for him. So that is why he's been so miserable. And I have been absolutely out of my head with worry, because I'd rather be sick myself than ever see an animal suffer in any way. Really, I can't stand it. So anyway, I was so relieved, but wouldn't you know it, as soon as I had set this up with the other vet, the old vet called and said, "Oh, you've switched your records to a new vet." And I said, "That's right." And I said, "I've been trying over 2 weeks. Every single day. I've been texting, I've been calling, I've been leaving messages. I've even showed up in person. And of course, they don't allow you into the clinic anymore. So the person would take a message and go and tell the vet and say, "Oh, yeah, they'll call you back." Nobody ever called me back. So at that point, I don't have, even if the old vet said at this point that they would do it, I no longer have any faith that they're doing what's in the best interest of Xander. So anyway, Xander may be having his operation as soon as Monday. I'm not excited about him having surgery, of course. I'm excited about him getting out of pain. It'll take him about 6 weeks to recover, but after, he's only a year old, so he's got the rest of his life ahead of him. If he was an older cat, then I might not do it, but he's very young, and so yeah. Anyway, so for those of you that keep asking about Xander, thank you so much for caring. And he's doing okay. He's resting and so forth, but it'll be so nice when he can get that done and over with and on the way to recovery. So thank you guys so much for listening. I appreciate you all, and I really do. I enjoy doing this. I enjoy talking to you, and I enjoy your comments, and I think it helps us all, because a lot of times you bring up things that I hadn't heard yet. And so yeah, it's good. So I will see you in the next video. I hope that you have a great night. Stay safe, please. Above all else, stay safe. And I will talk to you soon. Good night.